Hey, I'm about to show you an AI content system that automatically pulls in the most recent news on AI before turning them into fresh, high-converting social media content that you can post on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and even your website. If this is your first time here, my name is Michele, and over the past 12 months, I've helped over 40 businesses implement these sort of AI solutions and taught over 15,000 people in the process, all starting with zero technical knowledge. And so in this video, I want to walk you through the whole automation step by step, and if you stick around until the end, I'll even show you how you can get the whole system for free. With that being said, let's dive in. All right, so this right here is the whole content system on n8n. Now, at first glance, it might seem complex, but trust me, it's actually much simpler than it looks. And we're gonna go through the whole thought process and how it all works. Now, first of all, I just want to run this, and I want you to see the output, and then we can go to breaking it down. So the first step here that we see is the RSS being used to pull in recent news on AI. So the RSS is just a way for us to get the recent news. And then once, because we use loop over items to actually run only one news at a time, then we look at the news that we got. We say, hey, is this relevant towards who we're targeting and who what they care about? If it's relevant, then we go out and make the post brief, which is, again, a way for us to make the structure of the post or the outline before giving it to the second AI to make the actual content. And this is done for LinkedIn, it's done for Facebook, it's done for Twitter, and also the article as well. And once it's finished running, we add it all back to our Google Sheet database, which is a content database that we use, which is the one right here. And we have the content idea title. So this is where all the content came from. The article, again, where the content came from. The LinkedIn post that's done for this content right here, which is actually pretty decent. The Facebook post, the article itself in Markdown format, which we can use for different things, and the Twitter post as well that we made. All right, so let's go through step by step through the whole system. Now, before we actually go into n8n, there's something I fundamentally believe, which is mapping things out before you build it. So I wanted to walk you through my thought process as I was building the system. Now you will see by all the automation videos that I've done so far, every single time I have to build something, I always have to map it out in Miro first. And so when I thought about this content here, I thought about the fact that a lot of content systems, the input is manual. It's a manual input, like, hey, I want to make a content about this. But what if we can just run this weekly and we would have the latest AI news that was just obviously weekly automatically just pull in? Then we make the content and everything's added back to the Google Sheet database. So a simpler system, but the only difference here is that the input here is a weekly basis of AI news that come up. And so the input here again is RSS, latest AI news, and the output is a Google Sheet database with all the content. So the first step here is the latest AI news. How do we actually do it? Well, in this case, I knew that the RSS feed, which is a feed from the internet, says, hey, based on what keyword do you want to research the web for, in order for us to give you a feed of different news that come up based on that keyword. Then we want to filter the news by relevance, because yeah, we get all this, all this news, but what if one of them is not relevant to our target audience? So we have to explain to the AI what's relevant and what's not relevant. And then if it's relevant, I thought of posting on LinkedIn, but I said usually when I actually make posts on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or articles in general, I usually want an outline. I want a draft, right? Not like a draft post, but like a content sort of brief that we have that allows this next step, when it's making the actual content, to have much more context, to have more structure, so the quality of output increases, the quality of the post increases. And so we did this for LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and articles. And then we pull it all back to the Google Sheet with the content. So fundamentally, this is what it is. Again, if you look at this and you look at this, very similar, right? The structure is the same. And so when I was building this, just looking at this and building it here was much, much easier. All right, so let's go through step by step what it looks like, what it is, and all the different nodes that we have in place. So right now you can see that I'm executing this flow manually, but in this case, you would probably have a on-time trigger. So on a schedule that you put at the start, which basically means that it's gonna run every week. So we can go in here and say, you can run this every week on a Sunday at midnight, for example, right? You can obviously change this. There's a lot of different things you can do here. But fundamentally, you can just put a time every day or whatever. Then we have an RSS feed. Now, this is something that a lot of people still don't use because they don't know it exists. So if I go here to Google Alerts, this is how I made the RSS feed. I can see that I have the option to monitor the web for interesting new content, which is exactly what we want. So if I go here, I can now make an RSS feed. So what an RSS feed is, let me go in here, for example. This is a feed. Now it looks like code. I mean, it is code, right? But what it is fundamentally, it's like a bunch of news that come up. So if I take this URL, for example, so here, I paste it on Google, I can see that this takes me to a article that talks about AI agents, right? And this is news that come out of AI agents. So all of these are just a bunch of different news that come out, relevant sources, right? It looks at the top news in the world, and that's what it gives us based on a keyword. Now, the keyword I had in place was an AI agent, but you can literally do anything. You can do AI investments. Let's do AI investments. Get an alert. Now we made this. We can go to edit. Then it's saying, hey, how often do you want to do this? At most once a day. Sources is automatic. Leave this in English, any region, only best results. So this looks at the top sources out there. And then it's telling me, hey, do we want to deliver this to your email? If I press yes, then I will get an email every single, let's say, week or day, whatever it is, with the new news to come out. But in this case, I wanted to deliver to the RSS feed. So if I update the alert, I now have this right here, which is an RSS feed full of different news sources that we can use. We can actually copy the URL here on the top. And this is a thing that we can paste on, on n8n. Paste it here. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the old one that I had. Let me execute this step only. I can show you exactly what it looks like. So all that code that you saw there was this. It was just a bunch of different news. If I go to schema, which basically just makes it look like you actually understand what it is, it's giving you the title of the news, the link, which is where did the article that we're pulling information from come from. In this case, is this one, right? There's a bunch of articles. And then the publishing date, the author, the content itself, like a snippet, another snippet, and then the ID and the ISO date. So that's what we're going to use to be able to then send it to the next steps. So once we have this, then we're using a loop over items. Now, this is something fundamentally to understand about n8n is that we have 20 different news. If I didn't use this, it would just send 20 at a time. But I don't want it to send 20 at a time. I wanted to send it one news and go through the whole process first, and then send the other whole process first, and then send the other until it's finished. Okay, because we want to make it as structured as possible. And so if I use the loop over items, I can go in here. I can just say, hey, what's the batch size? Which in this case is how many news do you want to send at a time? In this case, you can do 5. I like to use 1 just to make it run on its own. Once it's done, we go to step 2, which is filtering the news based on the relevance. Now I added a field here, so using an edit node called audience. Now this is where you would substitute the audience that you have for your business or your client's business or your own business. That would be the target audience that you have to add in to filter out whether something is relevant or not relevant. So I said primarily an audience in AI automations and how they can use it to be able to optimize their current workflows or someone else's business. Now this is because I run a school community full of people who have this sort of ambition to make automations to sell them to businesses or for their own business. So that's why my audience is this, and it's just a field called audience. Then I go to filter news, which is an AI step. So this AI step allows us to actually just filter the news, right? Filter based on whether it's relevant or not relevant. In this case, we have 2 different types of prompts. We have the system prompt, which basically says, hey, you analyze relevance, your output should be binary in JSON. We're using JSON because you want the relevance, whether something is relevant or not, or the reason, and the reason, right? We want 2 different variables that we want to, because I want to know exactly the reason behind why it's not relevant or relevant, and then the actual answer as well. Right, now once this is done, we can also do the user prompt. And again, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can get the whole template for free, so don't worry. And you'll have these prompts there. And the user prompt will just be the target audience, the article to process, in this case, the title and the content snippet. This will be enough for us to be able to just say, hey, this is the information that we need, filter it based on whether it's relevant or not relevant. So let me execute this step. Let me go here. Now I can see that the RSS feed was this, right? We were filtering this. So this is what goes into here. As you can see, this is the output. So the target audience is my target audience. Stop building, supercharge agents, content snippet is this. And again, this right here, the target audience, I pulled in from the audience. And now this is the output that I get. So I got all the data. I said, hey, I think that this is relevant. So this is the actual output, right? The output that we want. And then we have the reason, which is the article discusses building effective AI teams instead of single super agents, which is directly applicable to AI automations and optimization of workflows, which is great. I mean, because I think that would be relevant for my target audience. So in this case, that's the step right here. And now we're using a switch node. Now the switch node is basically saying, hey, if the output here, so the relevance in this case, if this is relevant, then go one way. If this is not relevant, then go the other way. So the 2 different ways that I wanted to go is relevant to make the post and not relevant, as you can see here. I'm just bringing it back to here to then go through the next items. Because if something's not relevant, I don't want the automation to stop here. I want it to go back to the other items and check every single one until it's finished, right? Whether something is relevant or not relevant. So the way to do this is actually adding a routing rule. So routing rule just says, hey, if this equals to this, and name it output name. So in this case, I named it relevant, not relevant. So you can see here, the standard way of calling it is just a number. Let me delete this. So this is, if this is relevant, then call it relevant and send it one way. If this is irrelevant, so not relevant, name it not relevant, and then send it the other way. Now, when something is relevant, then you want to send it to make the actual content. All right, so once this is done, we go to generating the post brief. Now the post brief is separated into four different AI blocks, AI nodes in this case, which all do a similar thing, but they are different in the sense that they all do the post brief for their specific type of content. So if I go in here, I can see that the GPT-4 Mini. By the way, if you want to connect your OpenAI, you have to go to create a new credential. You have to go to platform.openai.com, go to dashboard right here, and then go to API keys, create a new secret key, create it, and then you can paste it back here to API keys. Now, bear in mind that this is not free, as in like we still have to pay for credits. So in your profile, you have to go to billing, and then here you have to add money to pay for it. I think it's like 1/10 of a cent, so it's not really noticeable, but it still requires you to put money into this to run it. All right, so once we connected our OpenAI account, then we have to prompt it. We have to say, hey, you are an expert, in this case, LinkedIn, specializing in creating professional, engaging post briefs. Your sole task is to create an article, titles, content snippet, and create a detailed outline for a LinkedIn post. And so we give it a few sort of guidelines to take on. And then it says your output must be in a single JSON format or object, do not include extra text. And so once we have the connection ready, then we can choose for 1 mini, because I think that's quality and speed at the same time. And then we have to put two different types of prompts as always. We have to put the system and we have to put the user. In this case, for the system prompt, I gave it a whole sort of very structured prompts that you can use. I actually should be adding the overview right here. Then we can edit it. And then we can also add rules. This is always good to add. And these two hashtags that you see here are just headings. So 2 headings, just so AI categorizes the hierarchy of what's important to look at, just like an essay. And you give it a few rules like this. Obviously, everything's related to LinkedIn, LinkedIn, LinkedIn. And now this generates the post brief. So the post brief is just a brief of the post. So let me go to execute step. Now I'm running around this. This now takes the post, or takes the actual news that we're talking about, and generates this brief right here. So hook, why settle for one super agent when a team can achieve so much more, and then key points and all the sort of stuff that you want to then send to the second AI to make the post itself. So if I go here, I can then go to the next AI, which the input of this is the content, which is a brief. But now we're giving it an actual prompt, which is actually very, very structured, which I actually use for my own content, which is more, so you're getting the whole template if you get it. And the input right here is the brief that we made on the first step, which you can add right here. Now for this case, we are using this prompt right here. I mean, first of all, we're using Claude. And to connect your Claude right here, you have to go to create a new credential. You have to go to anthropic.console, I believe. Yeah. And then you have to see, you get an API key, create a new secret key, you name it whatever you want, then you get the key, you paste it back here, and then press save. Again, this, just like OpenAI, is not free. So go to billing, and then you can add your amount of money that you can use. All right, now once we have the connection sorted, now we have to choose the model. In this case, I believe 3.7 Sonnet is the best, if not 3.5 Sonnet. Yeah, I think it's 3.5 Sonnet at content, right? Because Claude is not excessively, but it's much better than ChatGPT at generating content, which is why we use Claude for the content and OpenAI for the post brief. And so here we have 2 prompts. So let me go in here, I can show you the exact prompt that we have. Now this is much more structured than a normal prompt, just because I'm very specific about LinkedIn. And so we add much more details in here, value proposition, format requirements, the tone, context, the task, the role, all the things that GPT would want to know in order to make, in this case, Claude would want to know in order to make the post itself. And once we have this, then we have to give it the input. So we say, here's the structure of the post, and then we just pull in this variable right here, right? And that's this variable right here. Let me delete this, and let me show you what this is. There we go. All right, and now we have to simplify the output to make sure that it is structured. And now let me actually pin this. So I have to rerun this again, pin this as well. So pinning data just means that I don't have to rerun the whole thing just to run this part. Let me go to execute step. Now it's executing the step using the post brief that we made before. This right here is the actual post. So why set up for one super agent? And again, it doesn't look like an actual post, but once it goes to Google Sheets, because it has these things right here, /n, these are new lines, right? So the structure of it, the format of it will be fine. So you can see here, it has new lines. So every new line is like a /n. All right, now that we have this, then we can then go to the next steps, which is setting the variable right here. Now this is where it's gonna get a bit more sophisticated with n8n and the way it works, but bear in mind that these steps right here is the same for this, for this right here. So if you want all the prompts, you'll have it in the template that you'll get, but just know that this is all pretty much the same. We have the post brief and then we have the actual post that we make using the post brief. Now for these variables right here, we set these variables. So LinkedIn post, we have Facebook post, we have Twitter, which we get from here, right? It's all related. And then the last one is article as well, to then be able to merge them. So this is something that I actually had a problem when I was building this, because I was like, okay, I'm making these pieces of content. I want to make this separately. I want to put it one way for this, the other way for this, the other way for this, and the other way for this. But how do I put them in the same row? Like, how do I put them in the same exact row here? Well, unless it's linear, which means that this runs and then right after this is this, right after this is this, and not split like this, then we could do it. Because if you run these content systems like this, where it goes here first and then it goes back here, and then it goes back here, and then it goes back here, you're gonna have the problem that you're not gonna be able to add them in the same row. Well, I mean, unless you know this, right? And so the thing that we have to do here is make sure that we can then set different variables, like LinkedIn post, Facebook post, XYZ, because all of these are the same. All of these show up as text, like they're the exact same for each output right here. And now we merge them. So we merge the all possible combinations, which is these two right here, which is the only combinations we have. And we do the exact same right here, all possible combinations for these two exact variables, until we merge these two for all possible combinations, so these two, until we get 4 different variables. So it's gonna make much more sense when I actually run this. So let me run this here. It's getting this. It's gonna set the variable and then go here and then make the post. Okay, cool. Now we have this. You can see now we have two different variables. So we start with 2 different separate variables and we end with the output being one item, but having 2 different variables in it. So we merge them, we put them together. Let me pin this so I don't have to rerun it again later. And let me go for this as well. So now we do Twitter, post brief, content itself. Then we do the article, and then we make the article itself. And now we have this. So there were 2 different variables in 2 different types of outputs. We put them all together into one item with 2 variables. Okay, so follow with me, follow me through when I'm doing this, because it's gonna make much more sense when we add it all together. So let me pin this. P, just press P on your keyboard if you wanna pin this. So I don't have to rerun the whole thing, because it does take, I think, a minute to do everything, or a bit more. And now at the end, we can, so we have the merge, we have 2 different variables here. Well, in this case we had, let me actually rerun this again. We have 2 variables right here, and we have 2 variables right here. Okay, Twitter, article, LinkedIn, Facebook. And now for the last thing, we want to have them all together. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and article, so that we can go to the last step and be able to map them all together. So we can put the LinkedIn post here, we can put the Facebook post here, we can put the Twitter here, and then the article here. And then we can also add the content title, which we get all the way back from the RSS feed, so title here, as well as the article URL, which is a link, so that we're able to know exactly what's the content idea title that we get all this content from, where's the article URL that we use in order for us to actually make the content. So these two go hand in hand, because the title comes from the actual article. So you can see here, stop building this right here. So we have that there. And then we have the LinkedIn post, which is made, the Facebook post, the article, and the Twitter post that we can then post it automatically to whatever it is. So let me run this last step right here, execute step. In theory now, I should see a new row be added. As you can see, I got a new row added with the LinkedIn post, Facebook, article, which is in markdown format. Again, these are just formatting rules. And the Twitter as well, that we can use to then post it automatically. Now, bear in mind that we don't have a posting automation set up yet, but you can add it automatically. You can simply just insert a dropdown right here. Make sure it's G2, so it doesn't go here. And then you can do post content, and then you can get notified when it's finished. So yellow and then green. And then you can simply press this, post content, and this will post the content automatically using another automation. But again, this is fundamentally what it is with the content system. It's having fresh new ideas coming every single week of AI news. So let me actually run this whole system from scratch and use and do it for, let's say, 10 news. And let's see what we get here on the final end. I'm gonna go here and then I'm gonna execute the workflow from the start. So in this case, let me just delete this and make this a manual trigger. Manual trigger. Put this here. And now I can connect this and execute the workflow from the start. So now it's going to execute the workflow from the start. And now we're going to wait until we get all the content in the Google Sheet database. All right, so I ended up running just 7 right here, just because 10 would have taken a bit more time. But if you go here, you can see that now we have 7 different ideas with all the articles, which are different. These ones, we have all different types of research. And then we have LinkedIn posts, we have Facebook posts. So for each topic that we have an article that we made, Twitter post right here, which you can then use to then post automatically to every single platform. All right, so that right there is a full walkthrough of the build. And if you want the whole system for free, so you can simply just import the file to your n8n account. You don't have to rebuild the whole thing. And you just have to make the account connections. Then feel free to press on the first link down below, which takes you to my free school community right here. You can go to the classroom section. You can then go to the templates vault, look at the latest n8n video. Let's say it's invoicing parsing system. You can then see the download n8n automation workflow. You can press on this and import it into your own n8n account. If you have no idea how to do that, no worries at all. You can simply go here, and I made a full step-by-step tutorial showing you exactly how you can do it. Also, if you apply and you get in, then make sure to check out the AI Automations 101 course, which is a very comprehensive course, which takes you from a real beginner in AI automation to someone who's actually able to build automations for themselves or for other businesses. And yes, the community is free, but there's a catch, which is that not everyone gets in. So make sure to put some thoughts into your answers when you apply to maximize your chances that you get in the community and you can start crushing it from day one. All right, so there is a full walkthrough for the AI content system. And if you want to dive deeper into n8n, then make sure to check out this video on the screen where I walk you through the 25 hidden features of n8n you probably did not know about. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.